As the media digs their own grave, is there a growing challenge from independent journalists? Hi, everybody. My name is Greg Crable, and this is my daily podcast, Something I Learned Yesterday, in which I take one issue from the world of publishing and try to explain it in about 3 or 4 minutes. Trust in the media is very low, and unfortunately, the lack of trust is richly deserved. The most recent example is how the media fell for Hamas disinformation about the hospital bombing in Gaza. It's quite a black eye. However, as bad as the various news brands are, what are the alternatives? If you say that you get your news from X or TikTok or something, that doesn't sound good, despite the fact that there are lots of credible sources who use those channels. Bari Weiss, for example, who is a reputable former New York Times journalist, is now on Substack and such. She has her own thing called the Free Press, and a lot of other journalists have done similar things. So they're out there in social media creating their own brand outside the constraints of the major networks. Now, imagine that several of them started to band together. They could form their own brand. And then you wouldn't say that you got your news from X or TikTok. You'd say you got your news from that brand. X, TikTok, YouTube, whatever, would simply be channels through which you connect with that brand. That could be an important part of the future of what goes on in media. A lot of these independent voices could start pulling together and create new brands. You already see this to some extent in fits and starts. For example, there was a group of podcasters who dubbed themselves the intellectual dark web. That's kind of like a mini brand. It sounds a little arrogant to me, but anyway, that's a mini brand. So if you had a collection of independent journalists who agreed to some basic principles and organized themselves around a brand and maybe kept one another in check, that would be pretty interesting as a challenge to major news media brands. I think it sounds like a good idea, but there is the problem of ego. A lot of these people are prima donnas, and they like working on their own. And let's be honest, a lot of people end up working on their own precisely because they don't play well with others. But this is a nascent challenge to major media brands. In a way, it's more closely aligned with the original, somewhat naive and idealistic promise of the internet, which was we were supposed to be able to talk to one another and get information straight to the source without the mediation of some brand. Of course, reality struck, and we discovered that the platforms themselves became tools of censorship. YouTube takes down videos that they decide, based on whatever rules they use, are disinformation. But despite these challenges, censorship by the platforms and the ego of the players, I think there might be an opportunity here. Independent journalists could group together under a common banner and offer a substantial challenge to incumbent brands. So that's my thought for today. Curious to know what you think. Please leave me a comment. And if you need any help with your business, especially if you're working on a customer data platform or have any sort of marketing technology needs, please give me a call. I'd be happy to help you. Thanks.